Hello, welcome to the How to Animated Lyrics tutorial. First, we're starting in Photoshop here and creating a new file. I like to use 1080 by 1920 for the Instagram reel size with a resolution of 150. This is really up to preference, but I wouldn't really go too much lower than that. So we're going to go ahead and get this created. With that file open, now we're going to open up the video timeline. So up from Window down to Timeline here, and hit Create Video Timeline. There's a couple settings we need to change. So we're going to need to make sure Enable Timeline Shortcut Keys is on. It lets you change the frames by arrow keys, and we need to set the timeline frame rate to 12. I usually use 12. You could do 24, but that just means you're going to have to do double the work. One more setting we want to do is make sure in Panel Options it's frame number. So now that we got this open, here's the lyric sample.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier, shaking up the bottle when I open the beer.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and add the song into Photoshop by hitting the plus and selecting our song. I would first recommend right-clicking the track and changing the volume down a little bit, since sometimes Photoshop is pretty loud. Now we're going to need to find the section of the song that we actually want to do the lyric snippet for. So you're really just going to have to kind of click through and find that first word.
But I'm blowing smoke out.
Now that we've found where we want to start, we're going to go ahead and click Split at Playhead and delete all the audio before this. Now we're going to have to listen through and find the end of this little audio snippet.
Smoke out the window, being so cavalier, shaking up the bottle when I open the beer. Only.
So this is the end here, so we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with splitting at playhead and deleting the audio after. So now we're going to go ahead and add the layer that we're going to actually animate on. So we'll go up to Layer, select Video Layers, and New Blank Video Layer. How this works is each frame is essentially its own new layer, and it doesn't copy over what you've drawn from the previous layer. Now I'm going to go ahead and start drawing out all the lyrics for this section. One thing to note here is if you do want to move a portion of this, like I didn't really like where window was, you need to use the marquee tool to move it within a frame, because if you simply select everything or try to drag one part of it, it will move everything within this video layer. With the first frame finished, now I'm going to have to redraw this 2 more times to start adding that wiggle that you see within my lyric animation. So we're going to click over here and enable onion skins. And onion skins are very useful to be able to help trace over previous frames. And as you see, they are more opaque, so it's perfect for using as a template. With the second frame finished, I'm actually going to go and change the onion skin settings to have 2 frames before. And this just makes it so you can see both of the frames that you've drawn, and it helps you to draw this third layer so that it doesn't kind of shift around and move to a place you don't want it to be. This is kind of what the wiggle looks like between the 3 frames, but now the next step here is we have to actually copy and paste all these frames throughout the entire section of these words being said.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier,
So it looks like 40 here is that last frame that these words are being said. So now we're going to have to kind of go through the tedious task of going back to where our frames are, copying it. So first we're going to hit Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and we have to go 3 frames forward and do Control Shift V, which is paste in place. And we're going to do this all the way up to 40. Then we're going to have to repeat this for the second and third frame, and I'm just going to kind of skip through this since it works exactly the same. Now here's what it looks like when all 3 of those frames are extended fully.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier.
This is looking pretty good so far, but you'll notice that it's missing the syncing of each of the words to where they're being said in the song. So now we have to do that. And the first step to that is actually finding where I'm is being said, that second word. And once we find that, we're going to have to go back 1 frame, select all the words that haven't been said, I'm and beyond, and delete them going backwards. Now we're going to have to do that same process for all the rest of the words. So we're going to do this for blowing now. Once we found where it's being said, which is 7, we go back 1 frame to 6, and we select everything that hasn't been said yet and delete it going backwards. And I'm going to repeat this for all of the rest of the words within this sentence now. Alright, with that finished, this is what it's going to look like with all of the words synced up correctly.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier.
One thing I do like to do now is for words that are longer, like window and cavalier, is actually make it so instead of the entire word appearing when window starts being said, we have maybe a couple letters at a time. And here's what it looks like.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier.
With all this syncing done, I'm actually going to go back and add some transitions for each of the words. So re-enabling onion skins. And there's a lot of different options for this, but in this case, I'm just going to do skinny versions of each of the letters as a transition. With all of those transitions done, here's what it looks like.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier.
That looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the second sentence, and here's what that looks like.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier. Shaking up the bottle when I open the beer. But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier. Shaking up the bottle when I open the beer.
Alright, with both of those sentences done, I'm going to add some shadows. So double clicking on the video layer down here, we're going to click drop shadow. And there's quite a few different settings here. You can kind of just mess around with it for your own style. But for my own, I like to have pretty crisp shadows here, pretty dark as well. So I keep opacity at 100. I'm going to adjust the angle to 45. So shadows down and to the left. You can kind of mess around with the distance from the words with this slider. And the size changes how blurry and large the shadows are, but in my case, I'm just going to keep them at 0.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier. Shaking up the bottle when I open the beer.
So that's basically how I make animated lyrics in Photoshop. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment or send me a message if you have any technical issues that you need help with. I'd be happy to help. I'm going to finish up this animation, and I will show you the finished version now.
But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier. Shaking up the bottle when I open the beer. But I'm blowing smoke out the window, being so cavalier. Shaking up the bottle when I open the beer. Only obligation is to prosper in my operations. Money, motivation, stay cardio,